You've been taught that willpower is the solution, that if you could just try harder, focus more, resist longer, you'd finally get where you want to go. And for a few hours, maybe a few days, it works. Then it doesn't. Not because you gave up, but because you ran out. Willpower isn't unlimited. It's not a character trait. It's a resource. And like any resource, it depletes. Your prefrontal cortex is responsible for self-control. It's the part of your brain that overrides impulses, delays gratification, and forces you to do things you don't want to do. But it's metabolically expensive. Every time you resist a craving, push through discomfort, or stop yourself from checking your phone, your prefrontal cortex burns glucose. It consumes energy. And when that energy runs low, your ability to regulate drops with it. This is why you can make disciplined choices in the morning and collapse into distraction by evening. It's not inconsistency, it's depletion. Your brain doesn't have infinite fuel, and self-control is one of the most fuel-intensive processes it runs. Here's where it gets worse. The more you rely on willpower, the more resistance you create. Because your brain is designed to conserve energy, it prioritizes efficiency over intention, automation over effort. When you force yourself to do something through sheer willpower, you're signaling to your brain that this behavior is difficult, costly, unsustainable, and your brain responds by increasing resistance the next time. It's not punishing you. It's trying to protect you from wasting resources on something it perceives as inefficient. This is why just push through advice leads to burnout. You're not building momentum, you're compounding fatigue. Most people mistake effort for control. They think that if they're struggling, they're doing it right. That resistance means progress, but struggle is a signal. It means the system isn't aligned. Your brain doesn't want to fight you. It wants to automate. It wants to make behavior effortless so it can allocate energy elsewhere. When something requires constant force, your brain flags it as unsustainable, and it begins looking for an exit. This is why relapse happens. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system reached the point where maintaining the behavior cost more than abandoning it. Let's talk about what actually works. Your brain doesn't respond to effort. It responds to repetition, not heroic repetition, not intense white-knuckled repetition, just consistent, low-friction repetition. Because repetition is how the basal ganglia learns. It's how behavior becomes automatic. It's how you move something from the prefrontal cortex, where it requires willpower, to the basal ganglia, where it runs on autopilot. Once a behavior is automated, it stops costing you energy. It becomes the default. And defaults don't require discipline. But repetition alone isn't enough. You also need the right environment. Your environment is constantly shaping your behavior, often without you noticing. It creates cues. It removes friction. It makes certain actions easier than others. If your environment supports the behavior you want, you don't need willpower. The path of least resistance is already aligned with your goal. If your environment works against you, no amount of discipline will compensate long-term. This is why people fail in the same context over and over. It's not them. It's the architecture. And then there's nervous system state. If your system is chronically stressed, underslept, or dysregulated, your prefrontal cortex is already compromised. You're trying to exert self-control with a part of your brain that's offline. It doesn't matter how much willpower you think you have. If your nervous system is in survival mode, you don't have access to it. Regulation comes first, not as a luxury, as a prerequisite. Here's the reframe. Willpower isn't the problem. The strategy is. You were told to rely on force because force feels like control. It feels active, intentional. But your brain doesn't run on force. It runs on efficiency, repetition, environment, and state. When you understand that, you stop trying to overpower your neurology. You stop interpreting struggle as virtue, and you start designing systems that work with your wiring, not against it. Willpower has a role. It's useful for short bursts, for interrupting patterns, for creating space. But it was never meant to carry long-term change. That's what systems are for: inner power, outward precision,